All right, let's jump right into this deep dive and figure out how treating our daily hydration and physical activity as interconnected systems can radically optimize not just our physical performance, but our mental health too. Today, we're taking a really fascinating look at the very foundation of human vitality. We're going to break down some incredibly insightful data from recent scientific literature, specifically sports science insights on hydration and updated medical reviews on promoting physical activity for mental health. Think of this as the ultimate owner's manual for your body and your mind. I want you to take a second and just be totally honest with yourself. Really critically evaluate your daily inputs. Are you running your human machine on empty? The truth is, so many of us are unknowingly operating our bodies and brains with a compromised coolant system and a totally neglected engine. We often treat feeling sluggish or anxious as just a normal part of life. But what if those feelings are actually warning lights flashing on your body's dashboard? So the absolutely crucial point here revolves around this number, 60%. In most people, water makes up at least 60% of our body weight. But listen, it is not just sitting there like water in a fish tank. Water is quite literally the most biologically important molecule in your entire body. It doesn't just act as some passive solvent. It serves as an active, structural component of our vital enzymes. Without it, the precise chemical reactions required for you to think, to move, to thrive, they simply cannot happen efficiently. Okay, here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with 1, the pillars of vitality. Move into 2, the science of hydration. Transition over to 3, movement as mental medicine. And then we'll wrap it all up with 4, building your personal protocol. Let's start with section 1, the pillars of vitality, your body's operating system. To really establish the baseline stakes here, we have to completely reframe how we view our own bodies. The human machine requires a precision coolant system, that's your hydration, and a finely tuned engine, which is your physical activity, specifically to protect neurological function. We really need to stop looking at drinking water and working out as optional daily chores or just purely cosmetic pursuits. They aren't. They are critical, absolutely non-negotiable protocols required to keep your human machine running and to safeguard your brain's health. Moving right along to section 2, the science of hydration beyond thirst. When we look closely at our coolant system, one of the most surprising things the data shows us is that thirst is actually a highly inaccurate, lagging indicator of what we need. If you wait until you're thirsty, actually, let me rephrase that. If you feel parched, you are already behind. Looking at the foundational survey data for fluid intake, current U.S. recommendations are 2.7 liters per day for females and 3.7 liters per day for males. But here's the real kicker. Research shows that most daily hydration actually happens spontaneously at meals and social gatherings. So it's incredibly important not to restrict your fluids during those times because that's when your body naturally wants to top up its reserves. So, serious question. How many times have you used the bathroom today? According to the science, a healthy adult should be making a minimum of 7 stops a day. And as for color, you want it to lean toward lemonade, not apple juice. If you're hitting the restroom fewer than 7 times and things are looking a bit like apple juice, well, your cooling system is definitively underperforming. Now, why does that underperformance actually matter? Because a mere 1% drop in body weight from dehydration is enough to alter your physiological function. Just 1%. That tiny little drop is all it takes to impair your performance, especially if you happen to be out in the heat or up at altitude. It literally makes exercise feel harder and puts an immediate strain on your cardiovascular system. And when that slips to a 2% loss of body weight, things get noticeably worse. At this level, everyone, no matter how fit, experiences a baseline drop in cardiovascular output. You get reduced muscle blood flow, and perhaps most alarmingly, your mental attention becomes disrupted. Your brain literally struggles to focus when your body's water volume drops by just 2%. What's really fascinating here is how age completely changes the hydration equation. Prepubertal children actually sweat less than adults. Their sweat drops are smaller and they sweat over way less of their body's surface area. Because of this, their hydration protocols are entirely different from ours. They don't need to drink nearly as much as adults during physical activity to stay perfectly hydrated, just as long as palatable fluids are readily available to them. Now flip to the other end of the spectrum. As we age, our internal gauge literally breaks. Our volume-sensing baroreceptors lose their sensitivity, typically right around age 70. This means older adults can become severely dehydrated, drop blood volume, and experience heavy cardiovascular strain during a heat wave without ever actually feeling thirsty. It is a vital warning that drinking to thirst is a downright dangerous strategy for older populations. Let's pivot into section 3, Movement as mental medicine, prescribing activity. So we're shifting focus from the coolant system to the engine itself. Just look at this striking global statistic. 28% of adults worldwide fail to meet minimum movement guidelines. They are insufficiently active. Now, based on recent psychiatric evidence reviews, we are completely reframing physical activity. We have got to move away from seeing it as just a cosmetic fitness goal and start looking at it objectively as a clinical psychiatric prescription. Scientists are noting that this massive rate of inactivity directly correlates to the steep rise in mental health disorders we're seeing all over the globe. When the engine is neglected, the mind suffers. It's really that simple. And this perfectly illustrates the clinical power of movement. Specific exercise modalities map neutrally and highly effectively to documented symptom reductions. Aerobic exercise and high-intensity interval training show strong efficacy for depression and anxiety. Resistance training significantly targets depressive symptoms. And remarkably, supervised aerobic exercise of more than 90 minutes a week has a significant, proven beneficial effect on the negative symptoms of schizophrenia. All of this brings us to a heavy-hitting term in the medical literature, transdiagnostic intervention. While movement does not outright cure severe mental illness, the evidence definitively proves it is a powerful neuroprotective adjunct. It's an intervention that works across multiple, totally distinct mental health disorders to actively limit incident depression and anxiety while simultaneously drastically reducing cardiovascular risk. Which brings us to our final section, Part 4. Building your personal protocol, assessment, and action. Let's shift gears from clinical data to the actionable, everyday protocols you can use right now to assess your own operating system. What's super interesting here is that this is the actual flowchart used by psychiatric professionals. This specific decision tree is used in clinics to seamlessly integrate physical health screens right into routine mental health care. It visually plots out how a doctor assesses if you're hitting the guidelines, and if not, how to refer and monitor you. It proves, without a doubt, that physical activity is now a baseline medical vital sign. And the best part? You can actually run this diagnostic on yourself at home using the exact same tool the doctors use, the Physical Activity Vital Sign, or PAVS. It's literally just 2 steps. First, ask yourself, how many days per week do you engage in moderate to vigorous activity? Second, on average, how many minutes do you do this? Now, multiply those 2 numbers together. If that result isn't hitting that protective target of 150 to 300 minutes a week, your engine definitely needs more active runtime. So let's distill all of these core takeaways into a rapid-fire daily checklist. This unifies both your hydration monitoring and your physical activity vital signs. First, assess your morning thirst and urine color. You're aiming for lemonade. Next, track those daily bathroom stops. You want a minimum of 7. Then weigh yourself before and after heavy exercise so you can dial in your fluid intake and prevent that dangerous 2% drop. And finally, complete your PAVS weekly check-in to ensure you're consistently hitting those protective minutes. We've covered both the coolant and the engine of the human machine today. Your body and your mind are quite literally built to move and to flow. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. Look at the data we just explored. What is one habit, just one, that you can change today to keep your engine running optimally?